Miami. Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, producer and co-founder, Brian Goins.
What's up, everybody?
Brian, I hear that you're playing a lot of Star Wars Battlefront, something with Alex. I hear you're bad. I hear you're getting better, though. I hear you're improving.
I'm getting better. I've been training a lot with my my Jedi Master, Alex Toledo, at Tropical Blanket on Twitter.
Baby, yeah.
I know he's the enemy. I know. I shouldn't be doing this, but sometimes you have to tinker with the dark side to find the light side.
Exactly, and that's going to be a great transition to what we're going to talk about today, which is improving as a community. We are going to help the Heat get better. We are going to Jedi help their clutch time offense. Also joining us today, Kenny. What's up?
What's going on, man? I feel like a casual because I've been over here playing GTA the past week and a half or something.
You and Nikias. I've been seeing Nikias. Nikias is playing that lately too.
Yeah, because they did the PS5 version is out now.
Kenny,
and it's free online. So
I'm gonna do a little coaching right now. I want you to scooch to the right to get in frame. Right. Look at the production window. Listen. We're coaching here, baby. We're doing coaching here at Miami
last night.
Huh? Did you say unlike Spo last night?
Yeah.
Damn, the Spo slander. Item 4 for us. Okay, so what Fix in chat says I am sufficiently recovered from last night's game, and I am ready for more Miami Heat content. We got you. And listen, I don't think it's right when the team loses to be the doom and gloom show. It's a regular season game in March. That's gonna a road regular season game in March. Now we can be upset and kind of embarrassed and downright frustrated as to what happened. Shit, I am. I don't like seeing Joel Embiid happy on the sideline. I know Brian doesn't. I know Kenny doesn't. It was annoying, right, Kenny? You just see him fucking happy. You're just like, I don't want that guy happy.
I don't like that dude. It's weird enough, like, for years now, because I typically either really like an NBA player or don't care. Joel Embiid and James Harden have been the only players that I absolutely fucking hate. And now they're on the same team. And so I don't want to see them be successful at all. I don't want to see them smile. I don't want to see them have a good time. I hate it.
Yeah, it sucks. But I do think there's stuff to take away from that game. And the other thing is like, Brian, I think there's some people on Heat Twitter that go a little far, right? I think that there's ways to talk about this team without saying, oh, well, guys, season's over. Pack it up. They're flawed. Because it's a little void of perspective, and it's unfair to the amount of success that they've had, especially relative to their peers.
Yeah.
Right?
I honestly, like, the shit that I see all the time on Twitter, like, I like to be doom and gloom just because I think it's funny.
You're good at it.
But holy shit, I can't name them, but there are certain accounts on Twitter who probably know who they are that spread this, like, fucking bile on the timeline because I don't know. Are they trying to get clout? Are they trying to just get the likes because they want interactivity? Because that's what's popping the timeline in terms of their content, their engagement. That's what's getting them those new follow. Like, what's the purpose of you shitting on your own team if you're a Heat fan?
Let's call out these people by name, and let's start with Dos. let's start with Dos Minutos, because last night on Twitter he said a lot of stuff, including, don't see how the Heat recover from this loss. See you next season. That was Deuces. Shout out,
that shit's like the Mike Ryan Deuces.
No shout out to the Deuces. Somebody tweets at Dose. This game really showed us how much we miss Hassan Whiteside. Dose responded, I've been saying this for years.
Okay.
Crab Smut Peddler then says, the Heat will be lucky to hang on to the 8th seed. That was the state of Heat Twitter last night. It was, it was a lot of
that feels like
Mike
a bit.
Inglis. Oh, no,
that feels a little bit like a bit.
No, duh, Brian, it's a bit. They're parroting
We
hot
love
take
producers,
Harry
man. Those guys are
and
great.
common sense Heat fan. It's like all the fucking doomy and gloomiest people. But
Don't forget Chef Shirley.
and truly everybody. So I just want to talk about. I want to talk about what's been going on with their late game offense and not make it indicative of something that it's not. And I want to start.
You mean responding to John Hollinger in particular?
Yeah,
right?
like I thought Hollinger had an interesting tweet where he says, something to the effect of, "Well, this is just random NBA stuff, in March." But found the Heat, I'm a little concerned as to how much Herro gets hunted, and to me that stood out, and I saw a lot of Heat fans get mad at that, and I was like, I feel like that's a perfectly legitimate point, and I think a lot of the criticisms of Miami's late game offense is legitimately valid in criticism. It's like Jimmy's jumper's really bad this year. The jumper's broken. He has no lift on his legs. I think part of it is the no lift on the legs and the years of wrist injuries. They're just not, they don't have enough of a downhill kind of presence, kind of in pick and roll, getting to the rim to kind of leverage those late game situations. It's a lot of jump shots, and they're bad against size and switching. And I think that's all valid. Let's start a little bit defensively with Tyler Herro, Kenny, because I know that he's your boy. He's Moose's boy, year of drip drop. I'm going to read to you Heat net ratings in the clutch by player. Now, before I read these, people on the timeline were like, oh, here we go again, individual net rating. That's a correct take. I think the only time that you can use individual net rating is in clutch minutes, because the problem with individual net ratings away from that is you don't have a comparison as to on and off the floor. That's why I always tweet okay, this net on versus this net off. In the clutch, these guys are largely only playing these minutes, and the sample's too small to do on off. So just the aggregate number is really what you want, because you just want the most encompassing of when this guy's on the floor, this is what these look like. Because in the clutch, Jimmy's going to be out there, Kyle's going to be out there. It's typically the same guys. And for a guy like Herro, who's been pretty consistent in the lineup, he's playing with those guys most. So the individual net ratings, Kenny, are Caleb Martin plus 17, Max Strus plus 17, Duncan Robinson minus 1, PJ Tucker minus 3. These are rounded to the nearest, by the way. Jimmy Butler minus 4, Kyle Lowry minus 7, Bam Adebayo minus 13, and Tyler Herro minus 17. And those are really the big name Heat players, other than Max, who just had a fucking plus 17. So I had to throw it in there, Kenny.
Yeah.
What is your takeaway just from that raw data?
I don't take too much from it. I think the stuff that's also from the John Hollinger tweet. Or that was
No, that was me. That was independent research.
Clutch numbers are weird, man.
It is.
It's fucking weird.
It is.
I don't really know how to gauge that.
But they're not good in the clutch. I think we know.
Yeah.
And they're all their players are minus except for Caleb and Strus. And for some reason, KZ Okpala. He's plus
That reminded me of that Savant clip in the beginning of Hangover Time.
How you minus 17 in a minute?
Yeah. But yeah, whatever, man. This is a bad clutch team offense. It's fine. Let's just hope they beat teams' ass or whatever. I just want to get more into the stuff about Tyler Herro getting hunted. I think that stuff is an easier fix than people are really giving credit to. It's just I just don't know why Spo's not doing it.
Well,
yeah. How hard? And I know you're putting you on the spot, but how hard would it be to find some clutch offense numbers from the bubble run? Probably not. Basically that during the regular season, and now I kind of want to see what it was in the playoffs. If you can't, I can probably maybe look for it. I know you probably know off the top of your head.
I can do that. Let's just hope I don't drop frames on OBS when I open another Chrome tab. So I can sure try, but to the point. And Brian, I want to ask you about this. So
yeah,
the reason why I brought up those numbers is because obviously the Herro minus 17 is what really stands out. However, It's not what you think. It's the offense is stinky, not the defense is not great, but the defense is really not the issue. I mean, it's not good, but it's not it's a 136 defensive rating. You know what I mean? It's like a 110 defensive rating when he's on the floor in the clutch. And I think that is kind of, you can recover from that a little bit. And I tweeted out Jimmy, Bam, PJ, Lowry, Herro in the aggregate. That's +7 net rating with a 97 defensive rating. That's elite. sub 100 defensive rating. That's elite. Swap out Herro for Duncan. That lineup's plus 14 with a 98 defensive rating in 375 minutes. Those 4 guys, Jimmy, PJ, Bam, and Lowry, they can cover up for a guy's deficiency defensively. And I thought late in that game, Herro was hunted, and it wasn't until I think the last real offensive possession Philly had that Jimmy came to help. They swing the ball. They have a negative offensive possession. There are ways to circumvent that, Brian, but I think that some of the Herro stuff is a little bit blown out of proportion, and I think it's more of an offensive thing as a whole, not so much on Herro.
I think yesterday was probably, I want to say an outlier, but probably of the worst defensive moments that we see in the clutch for Tyler, probably his worst highlight reel. It's because it happened in 5 straight possessions and he ran the same exact play. So when you see it that way, like, yeah, it looks really bad on Tyler because it makes you question whether or not he can do that in the playoffs and survive. I mean, we saw in the Lakers series that they pretty much went after both Duncan and Tyler, towards the end of those games. But if I'm just thinking Tyler by himself as a contributor in these 4th quarter minutes, you need him because he gives you the best 3-level scoring on his team outside of maybe Lowry at this point. He's been showing a little bit more life on offense over the last couple games. But if you need someone to get you a 3-point shot because you're down 3 or you're down 5 points, you need a quick 3, you need a quick 2-point mid-range shot. Because a lot of the times we've been questioning the Heat's offense and they had a lead. This game, they didn't have the lead. They were down 5 points and they almost came back and tied it towards the end until they obviously gave up a few fouls, and then Tyrese Maxey hit a couple fucking crazy-ass threes, which no matter who you put on defense at that point, they weren't stopping that shot. So in a way, like, yeah, Tyler's defense sucked, but he made some shots that no matter what, like those are going to go in no matter who was defending him. If it was Bam, it'd be the same thing.
I don't necessarily agree with that, and we can get into that, but I do have the numbers you asked for. The Heat, in their bubble playoff run, they had a 39 net rating, a 135 offensive rating, and a 97 defensive rating in the clutch. So, obviously, that is basic.
Insane.
Yeah.
I think some of these numbers are also kind of tainted from a lot of these blown leads that they've had against like teams like the Jazz, too.
In the regular season, that year, Brian, they were minus 14.
That year?
They were the finals year, they were minus 14.
And that's bad too. And they still were able to have those great 4th quarter runs that we saw and that we're grown accustomed to throughout each of those first 3 runs. I mean, they blew out the Bucks in the first 3 games on just 4th quarter runs alone.
Yeah, it was shredding. It was, and I still think that they can do a lot of that against certain teams like Milwaukee, right, where they can just shred, a drop defense, because I think they've shown that they can do that this year.
I think. Oh,
go ahead, Kenny.
Yeah. So as far as Tyler last night in the clutch, in general, he just wasn't making shots. He had good looks all throughout the game. He was just missing, and so I think in the typical Tyler Herro game, we don't even really care that much about those defensive possessions. Now, on the defensive possessions, I am a little frustrated with not even just the Heat, but in general with teams just giving up the switch the other team is hunting. I'm not sure why you necessarily have to do that. Maybe you have more insight on that, G, but I do think at times you can hedge and recover, and I think or just have everybody but Tyler switch. I think they did that in the finals. After a while, they just had everybody except for Duncan switch. Duncan, you hedge and get back.
So I'll say this, because in the finals run, that's what they did. And it worked until they got to the Lakers, because LeBron is just a different animal, right? LeBron is the ultimate apex predator of finding the weakest link on defense. The Celtics did it some, but Tatum is just not that guy like LeBron is. And the Bucks don't do hunt offense. They really don't. So Miami got away with a lot with Dragic and with Herro. And they play both of them together a lot of the time, right? So it's like just 2 gaping holes in your defense. And it was just hedge, recover, send help, rotate. And that's really Miami's defensive principles now. The issue is Tyler, when you get Tyler isolated, and we've talked about the length a lot. He doesn't have the size to kind of give a cushion and give a good closeout. So, he's given Maxey enough space, and Maxey can shoot off the dribble, where that becomes a little problematic. I do think that they can send help a little earlier, and we've seen that go haywire. We've talked about that on pods before. Jimmy is kind of splitting the difference, or Kyle splitting the difference, and that's an easy pass to open three. So it's certainly an issue, and it's been an issue all year, and I don't think they have a great feel on how to solve that problem yet, but I do think that is more matchup specific than we think, because again, the Bucks don't do a great job at matchup hunting. And if Middleton is running, like Middleton's the only guy who really does it, but is Chris Middleton like super duper scaring you? Not really.
Depends on the game.
Yeah, and you can mix in some traps and some doubles, and there are things that you can do late in game that he's not getting the same look every single time down the floor. The late doubles I have an issue with. If you double, it has to be an early double. I'm sorry, you should late double so that they can't swing the ball. The early double, I feel, gives the offense a little too much time to swing and find the open man. And then I think what Fig said also agreed. I wish we would stop. Oh, they say you would stop the late clock doubles. I think that you kind of want to do that so they have less time to work with, and you have to take a shot. Now you have the clock working with you. So we could talk about Jimmy as well, because Jimmy sure has his warts. But what really was, I mean, their defense wasn't good, but their offense is just in the mud at all times. And against a team that had DeAndre Jordan and the fucking corpse of Paul Millsap, I need a fucking cameraman. It's pretty inexcusable.
Yeah, I think they should have been able to figure something out. But again, their best scorer was having a rough night, and so was Max. Duncan, honestly, don't even remember. I think he was fine in the first half. I was like halfway.
Duncan was like 2 for 6 or something or whatever. Just listen,
yeah,
their shooters.
It was just a weird. They just couldn't make shots.
Their shooters had a bad night, and like I just don't want to make this more indicative of what it is. I think the fourth quarter stuff is legit. I think the stuff with Herro's legit. They can do a couple things. Like I said, they can send help a little earlier. They can mix up help coverages and stuff like that. And I know, Brian, you see you nodding your head. That's about what they could do. But we have a minute sample that's big enough to show they can offset that, because I think Miami's strength is when they're in rotation. A lot of teams don't like to be in rotation. I think the Heat are really good at it, because they have a lot of guys that are really scary in the passing lane. They rotate really well. They take charges really well, too. They get to the spots early. They all know where they got to be. So when Miami's in rotation, it's different than when other teams are in rotation. So if you can force that pass and that ball movement, I think that's something Miami would much rather take than Herro on an island. B. You look stressed.
I don't know. Like,
we're the 1 seed, baby.
Part of me feels like we're not seeing any of the good late game offense or defense, because Spo's just saving it for the playoffs.
I don't think Spo's saving it. I just think they're bad at it. But I think that they'll have enough to kind of patch together.
I feel like he did some different stuff in the playoffs that we weren't really seeing during the bubble run.
I think he kind of does it every year, though, right? He'll just bring something out in the playoffs.
I mean,
he hasn't done, like, the 2-3 zone obviously was something he did try in the regular season, but I felt like it was a little bit different against Boston.
They better not run that in a clutch playoff scenario. Like, I don't want to see 2-3 zone to close out a fucking game.
I don't know if I trust this team to do 2-3 zone for a whole series. I can see it for like a game, but I can't trust it for to get 4 wins.
They don't have the length to do it like they used to. I think Derek and Redacted were pretty important to that zone because of the size. And I just don't think they're a little smaller, which really hasn't hurt them because they've been able to make up that size. But the one place that you cannot replace that size is the way that they ran that zone, which was incredibly special, where they put the bigs up top and the guards on the bottom, and they made getting an entry past hell.
But I do like the idea of them throwing different looks in the playoffs. Like, I'd rather have them try off different defensive looks on guys like Kevin Durant if they play him in the first round. I don't want him to be, just on isolate. Like, if he can try to double him, just have him swing the ball, try to force some of these other guys that are not gonna. You're hoping that guys like Bruce Brown or fucking Paxton or something like the Claxton, whatever his name is, beat you in the 7-game series. I mean, the fucking Heat did it with what's his face, Bryn Forbes, in the last time they played in the playoffs.
You know what?
That fucking ruined them. But that was the whole strategy going into that series. You didn't want Giannis to go off. They succeeded. Out of all the 4 teams that they played to win the championship, Miami had the best defensive strategy on Giannis, and they still lost in a sweep. But you know what? You tip your cap if Bryn Forbes goes off like that.
Brian, I gotta be honest with you. Like when you look at a guy like KD, I'd actually be surprised if they just give up that switch every time. And the reason is because Miami, when they did it to LeBron, it was with the implication of as soon as LeBron beats his man, we are going to collapse and send everybody into the paint. Kevin Durant is looking for that one dribble pull-up. And that's my thing about the dribble handoffs as well. When you have a guy like Durant or when you run handoffs, you isolate plays and you essentially phase help out. Because if you run a Duncan and Bam handoff with your intention to be a Duncan 3, if Giannis is not defending that action, Giannis cannot fly weak side and affect that, right? Mm-hmm. Same with Durant isolating Herro in a pick and roll, and when he's going to pull up and get to his spot. If they clear a side like Miami does a lot, where they'll empty a side and they'll just run kind of a clear side pick and roll with kind of the big flashing or whatever. If you don't double Durant immediately, he's just going to get to a pull up, and that's a layup for him. So I actually would be really curious as to how they defend that in the playoffs. They might either just not switch it, kind of play Bam super high up the level and maybe force a slip pass and then have that help pre-rotate from the corner and then force that corner guy to make a three with a rotation. I don't know, but I would be surprised if they just let Tyler die on an island with Durant,
I think he throw a very hard hedge on the pick and roll because that's probably what Durant would want to do. And then you just try to recover on whoever that big man would be.
You make him a passer at that point.
You do. And then obviously if Kyrie's in the game, that's a little different because then you have an extra shoot. I mean, they have the shooting to make it.
Kyrie's a guy that you can collapse on, though, because Kyrie is going to try to get to the basket, get fouled. So you can send help at him, and you feel better about it. But, again, the Durant, the specific issue here is that
they don't have a big man to really beat you like that you're scared of. So that actually helps them.
They are going to have sets somewhere out there.
Unless Ben Simmons is the guy you're scared of, like, on the pick and roll. Maybe
that
might be.
He might not even play this year. He's probably not.
He might not play, but say he does play in that series. Is that a guy you're scared of, going off for a quick, almost double hedging and then trying to recover on Ben Simmons?
If Ben Simmons has the ball in his hand late game and in the Nets game, you win because the ball's not in Durant.
Oh, I'm talking him as a screener. I'm not talking him as a ball handler.
Yeah, I'm
talking Durant. Durant brings up Ben Simmons. Simmons comes in and short rolls.
If Simmons catches the ball on a roll, you foul him and that's it.
Yeah.
That doesn't worry me. Just him as a screener is effective, but it's just I don't even send help from the corner if I'm being honest. I just try to contest and make him finish, or I make him finish through contact, and I know he doesn't like going to the line, and that's what I do. I don't know. I think Miami may want to send help, but I mean if I'm doing it, that's what I do. He just doesn't factor into my
and Ben Simmons, he also doesn't want to take the layup either. He wants to kick it out. And so
don't give him what he wants.
Like you said, definitely don't help off the corner. If Ben Simmons is gonna go give you 30 points, it's like, come on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so, I mean that's one series. We're talking about other series. I mean that's probably of all the isolation scores, that's the one we probably are scared the most. But like the other guy would be probably Tatum and then maybe Middleton.
So one thing I think Miami should do is watch to the guy you mentioned, Bryn Forbes' film. Because I thought the way that the Bucks hedged and recovered against the Heat last playoffs was really interesting. And they kind of hedged really, really high. And it made Jimmy kind of take an extra dribble to go around. And the drop man was able to step up. And they were able to contain a lot of that stuff. So if I'm Miami, I look at some of that. I think they can. They haven't really implemented the hedge and recover too much, but I do think that when push comes to shove against matchups like KD, against matchups like LeBron, where they did it some, they'll kind of incorporate that. I don't think Tyrese Maxey's the guy that you're going to hedge and recover on. Again, Tyrese Maxey hits step back threes, and you're just like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? And Tyrese Maxey hit, 2 or 3 step back threes and had a block at the rim on Caleb Martin to win you the game.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where
I'm fine.
The guy's just in the zone. He's just not gonna. Whatever you do, he's like Brian said. He's just not gonna miss.
And part of that is Tyler. I'm sure guys look at Tyler and their eyes open up and they're like, "Oh wow, I'm happy." And I wish somebody had asked Jimmy or Spo, late in that game when Jimmy came to help, if that was a Spo directive or if that was Jimmy like, okay, I got to help him. Because I'm actually curious if that was a system thing or if that was a Jimmy like, okay, we're just not doing this. We're not doing this for a fourth time.
But they need to start doing that earlier, though.
I think you can't give guys the same look every time because I think that's the complicated. Because I thought about that too, Kenny. I was like, because I was watching the game with Alex Toledo, and he was like, send help. And I'm like, yeah. And then I thought about it. I was like, but you just can't like give them the same look every time. Like these are good NBA players. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna beat a coverage if they see it 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and you're right because then they also had Korkmaz who was hot for some fucking reason, and also
and he wasn't even playing at all for like almost a month.
Yeah,
like it's
fucking Korkmaz.
The thing I hate about the Heat is that they always allow this to happen, but I feel like they're always a better team when they're actually playing against like a full strength team. Like they always fucking do this in the regular season. When every time they play against a team that they don't feel like they have to worry or play to the level of competition that they probably should against NBA teams on a night-to-night basis. And it feels like these last 3 games in particular that they've played, and I tweeted this out yesterday, they're just trying to coast through the regular season. And to me, the worst thing that they could do, besides getting injured, is building some bad habits.
Yeah. I will say, though, the only thing, and this is not an excuse I'm making, but let's say they spent, I don't know, a week preparing for, or how many days did they have off? 2, right? They had 2 days off before this game.
They had fucking 6 days off in like a 7 days.
Like on specifically this game, it was like I believe 2 days.
Yeah, they had 2 days.
So they
played Friday 2 days, and they played Monday.
So they're preparing for Embiid and Harden. They have all these schemes. They're watching all this film, and then 2 hours before the game, these guys are not playing. They should be more prepared for the other guys, but I kind of understand how they weren't. But that's not much of an excuse because in the second half, you do kind of make an adjustment at some point. Like, okay, we need to do something about Korkmaz and fucking Maxey. But I do get at least the first half them struggling.
Twitter once again changed their layout or UI on mobile. I'm sorry, I'm just like really mad. I don't like it. I hate when Twitter makes changes. Fucking Twitter. Sorry, I got minorly distracted. It's like, why do you change stuff? Why can't you just leave it? The app is perfectly fine. It's a great app. It worked fantastic. Why now? What they did was they pushed the avatars up, right? So the avatar plus your ad is one line, and then all the text and pictures go under it, right? Instead, remember the avatar used to be to the left of your text, and it was all like one kind of rectangle. Now and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't. It makes it look like Instagram. I don't want it to be like Instagram.
I pretty much never update my stuff anyway, so mine still looks the old way.
I don't know.
Can we all agree that Instagram sucks?
I hate Instagram.
I don't really use Instagram that often.
It's fucking videos now. They don't even post pictures anymore.
Well, man, sometimes they're fun. I mean, Instagram's like glorified aggregated TikTok, but I refuse to get TikTok.
Yeah,
and then YouTube has this fucking YouTube Shorts thing. Why is everybody want video? There's too many video content things out there. Just let's get back to the old days.
How do people watch? Like, I don't know. I like scrolling Twitter because it's a quiet activity. People love videos now. You know, there's no more quiet fucking social media activities.
While we say this on Twitch stream video.
Subscribe to our twitch.tv/Miami Heat Beat if you're listening on the podcast. And if you want to catch the replay, watch it on YouTube. Along with Tiffany Meek's Mix Bag, which is a bi-monthly mailbag show. Check that out as Kenny is going to scooch to the right and get in the center of his camera by looking at the production window. Yeah, no, we're good. We're coaching, baby. We're coaching. So yeah, I mean that's I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because that's kind of where I'm at with Tyler and the clutch stuff and the Jimmy stuff. I just don't talk about it a lot because it's like really we can sit here and criticize, but there's not a lot they can do schematically. I mean, really, okay, you're like, okay, maybe Tyler can run some pick and roll and stuff, and like you can give the ball to Lowry sometimes. At the end of the day,
Jimmy is a screener, man.
Your best offensive player needs the ball at the end of the game, and it needs to be able to make a play. And if he's gonna suck in the clutch, they're just not gonna win. They're just not gonna win a title. It's just that's just too much to overcome. Like if that guy is just a negative spacer and a bad player, like an offensive player in the clutch, you're just not gonna win. And he's a good clutch player. Like on offense, like his offense, like he's good. He's a good player. Like he's a good isolation player. Like he just sometimes it just looks bad, but I think that stuff will correct itself. And in the playoffs, he does. I don't want to accuse Jimmy of this, but at times Jimmy looks like he's coasting. which, to be fair, after a certain point of the season, they lost a little bit of edge. And I think it's when, I don't know when it was exactly. It might have been after that Western Conference road trip where they lost all those guys and they had a really good record and they beat Phoenix and stuff like that. To me, that was like, okay, we're good. You know what I mean? Like, we're fucking good. And after that, you know, they kind of got the 1 seed soon thereafter. And it's just kind of been like, I don't know. I just don't feel like this team has the sense of urgency that they had early in the season. So I expect them to look a little different in the playoffs. But, you know, I did think the schematics of Herro as a defender was interesting. What you got, Brian?
There was a game where I felt like they had that intensity, and that was that Chicago game, especially that first quarter.
Yes. Because that was personal against the Bulls, because I think that the Bulls and the Heat were really the two cute stories. And I hate to call the Heat a
at that
cute
time,
story.
I think they were also tied for first place too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They were.
Yeah. But I think it's more so what Brian said. They do just tend to not get up for teams they feel like they should beat. And that's been an annoying Heat thing pretty much my whole life, because you can't go in there underestimating teams. And so I'm sure, and actually, they did come out playing hard in the beginning of the game, and then they just lost their shit in the fourth quarter for whatever reason.
Offensively, yeah. Defensively, they were not.
Yeah. But like you said, also, they just can't build these bad habits. And they confuse me, too, because they will have games where, like, oh, yeah, of course they're coasting. They're ready for the playoffs. But then they won't rest guys they need to rest sometimes. And so I don't know what their direction is right now. Are they just preparing for the playoffs, or are they still trying to win? What is it?
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I'm sorry, I just cannot get over this fucking Twitter UI. I'm like, I'm telling you, my day's legitimately ruined.
Oh, there's some big news, but it's not Heat related.
What is it?
The Dolphins sign a left tackle, a Hall of Fame left tackle.
I don't care. I
haven't watched the Dolphins.
I care about Mike Ryan.
You're a Jags fan.
I care about Mike Ryan becoming a Jags fan, and that's it. Although Crab said you'd be in the same fan base as me, and then Mike said that's a point against the Jags. So
also shout out to the Panthers for going all in.
I don't care about them either. The Carolina Panthers.
No, the Florida Panthers.
I don't care about them.
No one cares about no Carolina Panthers.
I don't care about hockey. I'm sorry. I don't.
They actually have a better chance of winning a championship than Heat.
You know, I like exactly 3 sports. I like I like the NBA, because I don't even like college basketball. I think college basketball fucking sucks. I don't like watching.
Yes, I know. I was watching a lot of, because I had a March Madness bracket for work, and obviously you're invested because you want to try to win money. So I watched some of these games. I'm like, damn, nobody can shoot a 3. Everybody's holding the ball up until like the final. Like they have like the thing I hate the most about college basketball. Yeah, the shot clock takes forever to fuck. They just pass it around 3 guys in the perimeter before they decide to actually drive it in. And every time they drive it in, they can't get more than like to the free throw line, and then they kick it back out for a fucking terrible 3.
Or they
and
run
sometimes
a pick and
these
roll.
guys make these like 40 feet 3-point shots, and like that's never gonna work in the NBA if they ever want to get there.
I don't like it. I only like the NBA, tennis, and soccer, and that's it.
Tennis is good. Tennis is a great sport.
I like
tennis.
I really want to go to the Miami Open, but there are too many Heat games. I got invited.
Did you see that Jimmy has like a Big Face coffee stand or something?
Big Face Coffee has a pop up at the Miami Open at Hard Rock. So if you are like myself and are very curious, you want to stop by and have some Big Face. I may make it out this weekend because
Do a review.
We're thinking about doing something about reviewing Big Face Coffee with Brass, or so that's in the works. But yeah, guys, I mean that's really what I wanted to get to today. I wanted to talk about kind of this clutch stuff, and particularly Tyler, because he was kind of the ire of some of the fan base last night and some of the more national media people. I think local fans were pretty easy on Tyler. I think the national media, which is why I wanted to talk about it, was like, that's interesting.
But here's the thing: the national media always talks about the Heat whenever they do something that's not like them winning.
Brian, they people literally
they only talk about it whenever they fucking do something that's not good.
They don't take this team seriously, and really the only team in the East that they take seriously are the Bulls. And if Harden,
and the Nets still, they fucking talk about the Nets and they're still in 8th place.
Actual basketball people don't. But I'm pretty most actual basketball people don't really take the Heat that seriously either. Like the only team in the East that people like take seriously, like basketball people.
No one can talk about this team.
It's just nobody. Like Nikias doesn't even take him seriously.
Zach Lowe can't even talk about this team.
Nikias doesn't even like.
Donald can barely talk about this team without getting into narratives.
I'll leave George alone. I love George. They're good. I think that.
I think.
And I said
sorry to
this.
cut you off.
Alex asked me yesterday. He's like, "Who are your title favorites?" And I'm like, "Phoenix, Miami, Milwaukee." Like that's it. Those are the only three teams I envision winning a title, unless the Warriors get like really healthy, and like they have to like Steph and Draymond have to be like good to go, and then I put them in the list. But I just can't see Philly or the Chicago or Brooklyn or Utah or Memphis or any of these like
What about Boston?
Yeah, probably Boston too. I probably have to put. This is something about the Celtics.
The thing with
I just
Boston
don't
is I
trust
need to
their
see it in the
offense.
playoffs.
I
I need
just-
to see it in the playoffs again.
Yeah, and Boston's clutch offense has also been terrible, which is kind of weird because they have Jason Tatum who they can go to, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Kenny, they
clutch
don't have
stuff
enough
is just
shooting.
weird.
They don't. The
Yeah.
Celtics. So the thing with the Celtics are like I think Milwaukee would absolutely boat race like the Celtics. I think that's as unwinnable a matchup for them as possible because they're just gonna get killed. Like they don't have a Giannis answer, and if Time Lord is like their best solution, but he's also their weak side defender. So if you're putting him on the ball on Giannis, like that really takes away their advantage of having him from the corner come in and help. So that's a matchup to me that looks. They need to get out of that bracket. So I was talking to our friend Kev, and Kev said, "I'm happy that the Sixers won because I need Boston to be 4." Okay, they need to get out of the Milwaukee bracket, but they keep winning, so it's like they might get stuck at a 2-3 Milwaukee. So actually,
How amazing would that bracket be for Miami though?
if the Celtics and Milwaukee got 2-3, yeah, that's ideal.
And
that's why last night
probably-
sucked.
Yeah, and then you still need Cleveland to probably fall to 7. Like if you can get Toronto to climb to 6, and you got Cleveland falling to 7. Then you're basically having a 7-8 match. And we talked about this a couple pods ago with Kenny. You have a 7-8 matchup where Kyrie gets to play in Cleveland on the road for a chance to get the 7th seed. That means Cleveland would then fall to 8th if they win that 8 to whatever 9 to 10 matchup, whoever that would be from the
So you're
Hornets
saying
and,
that Brooklyn
and Charlotte
yeah.
side.
So right now,
Yeah.
so Philly, Milwaukee, and Boston all have a 3-way tie for second place. All 2.5 back of Miami. I guess Boston is percentage points behind Milwaukee and Philly, who are 6.620 in win percentage. So, it's gonna be. I think that's gonna be the interest, and that's what. Listen, if Miami had won yesterday, that's why I said on pregame, Kenny. This game may not matter to a lot of people, but pushing Philly into 4 and yanking Boston out of their Miami's bracket is huge. Because that's a
It's
matchup.
gonna come back there. They now need to beat Boston on the road. I think that's next week.
Miami,
They need to win that game.
the Heat. I don't
Yes,
think they need to win that game, but
I think they need to win that game so they can give themselves a better bracket.
if they beat the Warriors without anybody, they beat the Knicks and then they beat the Nets. Like
Okay, but I'm talking about pushing Boston. Boston keeps winning.
the rest of
If
their
you can
schedule
push them
is
down. That'd be nice.
you'd need Boston to win that game to get into 2 or 3. You need
This is true.
yeah. So you have the
All
Warriors.
right, Heat, lose
Rest
that
everybody.
game. That's
Rest
yeah,
everybody.
Rest everybody.
The remaining schedule is at home against the Warriors, Knicks, Brooklyn, Kings, Celtics, Bulls, Raptors, Hornets, Hawks, Magic. That's what we're looking at to end the
Ooh,
season.
you need to let the Raptors win too.
Oh man, finally, we're almost done, man. Let me tell you something. The regular season's a fucking grind. You do content. I was talking to Alex about this. Shout out to Brady Hawk, who has enthusiasm every day. That shit got beat out of me. Now I'm just like, God damn. I was like, when are the playoffs? I'm tired.
Where's the playoffs?
I'm fucking
it's-
tired. Kenny, you just started. I mean, shit. Brian and I have been doing this 10 years. You know what I mean? Shit gets old. You're like, oh, they lost a game in Philly in March on a Tuesday.
Kenny's on a show every other day now.
I know.
it is.
Kenny's aged 10 years already.
Watch, man. Like
It's tough out
in
here.
a season, you're gonna have like you need like surgery for
Next
your
season,
throat
you're
'cause
gonna be
have,
sick
like,
of it.
tonsillitis or something.
You're gonna
like
hate
that.
you're gonna be advocating for a fucking 30-game regular season because you're just tired of doing shows every day. I'm telling you.
You're talking per 48 minutes is gonna be like up here. Your usage rate.
I've never felt more media than when I'm watching seating because how it affects my travel plans. I have a wedding, and I'm like, oh my god, if the Heat need this bracket, because then if they won't play this weekend, so I can go to this wedding in peace. By the way,
I'll never forget me having a wedding during Game 3.
yeah, you're the worst. I don't like.
But how was I supposed to plan that? How was I
Don't
supposed to plan
plan
that
a-
they were gonna have a bubble?
Yeah, that
during
wasn't
a
your
pandemic?
fault. That wasn't your fault. My friends who plan a fucking wedding on Memorial Day weekend, that's Eastern Conference Finals. What are you doing to me? And it's expensive to fly there. California's not cheap to fly to right now. Putin's fucking everything up for us, and it's expensive.
I've only been to one wedding before, but that was at night. I don't know why they don't just do them in the morning.
Nobody in Kenny's life loves each other. Holy shit,
I love
really?
you.
Only one wedding?
We love you, Kenny.
I love y'all too, man.
I've
I've only been to one wedding.
I saw this TikTok, and it's like an economical way to have a wedding. Instead of asking people to fill out a registry, they buy tickets to your wedding so that they can
What?
pay. And I'm like,
I am not
if you
going for
fucking
that.
send me a Ticketmaster link instead of a goddamn registry, I'm fucking egging your house. Fuck you.
Honestly, I've known people who got married. I just don't care to.
Kenny's like, I don't
I'm not
believe
that happy
it.
for people.
Kenny's like, I
I'm
don't
not
believe
that
in
happy.
love.
That's a really bad way to do a registry because that prevents you from getting a really expensive. Like you're basically limiting them to how much you want them
Well,
to
no,
spend
because
on your wedding.
the idea is that like the wedding will be free because everyone is paying a ticket to attend your wedding.
How much is this fucking ticket then?
I don't know. I imagine it's
Weddings are
expensive.
expensive. Like how much? Their guest list better be like 200 plus probably, and you're charging them like what 500?
I don't know.
The food alone's like $200.
I would be fucking pissed if somebody sends me a fucking $500
I trust me. I know.
ticket.
I planned the wedding. This shit's not cheap, but there's no
I
way
never
you
thought
can
of
pay
that.
off the whole wedding on just a ticket.
So what? Yeah, like so. What if let's say you what's a wedding like? $20,000?
I paid just about over 20, and that was for 25 people, 20 people. You weren't even there. I still paid for your table.
Bro, I was
Your
scared of
seat.
COVID. We weren't even vaccinated then. We didn't even have a
No.
vaccine. I was
Well, I
scared.
still had to pay for you.
I
couldn't get
know,
that
but I
money
was
back.
scared. Brian
You
had
owe
a
me
wedding. I was the
$500.
best man, and I was like, Brian, I'm scared. It's scary out there. That shit could kill me or my family.
So
My poor
the message I'm
mom has
getting
a
from all
fucked up
this-
lung.
Still
The
owe me
message I'm getting
$200.
from all this, and from what I want to tell the viewers at home, don't ever find love.
Don't ever find love.
Never find love.
Heartbreaking 5.